All right. First and foremost, thanks everyone for being here, and thank you to the three absolutely incredible founders who found time in their busy schedules to be here with us today and share some of the learnings from their journeys. It's a real pleasure and privilege, so thank you guys. Let's start there. Maybe we kick it off with a quick round of intros, and then we can talk about today's topic, which is quite an exciting one. So just really quickly, my name is Rytis. I'm from Lithuania originally. Incredibly excited to be here today and to help moderate this discussion with these incredible entrepreneurs. I'm part of Lightspeed Venture Partners. I'm a partner there. As a firm, we invest in companies that we believe can have the potential to become very large businesses, ultimately getting to $1 billion, 10 billion, and maybe even beyond. Either personally or with Lightspeed, I had the good fortune to, at the very least, make friends, and in some other instances, even get involved with some of these incredible companies on the stage today. And so, a real pleasure here to pass the mic, so to say, to Mantas for a quick intro, and then off we go with the topic.
So Mantas, co-founder and CEO of Vinted. So we became first unicorn in Lithuania. Recent round was 3.5 billion, and it's been for me 12 years of journey with ups and downs. So happy to share some insights.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Tom. I'm also Lithuanian. I'm one of the co-founders of a cybersecurity company called North Security. We started the business early 2013, and after 10 years of being bootstrapped, we raised our first capital 2 weeks ago or so.
Congrats.
So, yeah, thanks.
That's
very happy to be here.
I'm wearing the hoodie
Second
today.
unicorn in Lithuania.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is James, co-founder, founder and CEO of Printify, on the way to the unicorn status and decacorn, as these guys are already a bit closer to that, and now about 7, I think, or slightly over 800 people team, and glad to be building and really going through the journey and sharing some of the learnings with you.
Amazing. So, wow, so much excitement. So maybe we actually start with just a little bit of context, and then let's talk a little bit about the journeys, how you guys got to where you are and the journey beyond. So the context is, I started my investment life in 2008. There was like a dozen unicorns all across Europe. Today we have 400, give or take, across Europe, including about a dozen, so I think 13 is the actual number, in the Baltics. Yeah. Just a quick show of hands, I guess, in the audience. Who in this audience is from either Lithuania, Latvia, or Estonia? Okay, like about 93% of the audience. So I think we all can be proud of that. From 0 to like 13 unicorns, 1 decacorn so far, at least at the time of the IPO. That was wise. It's the markets have been shaky, so it's kind of left that territory at least temporarily. But that's kind of the context. The ratio. It's hard enough to get to a unicorn, and then let alone from that, to a decacorn. That journey is potentially even more tricky. Today we have, I think, 25 or 26 decacorns across Europe, only out of the 400 kind of unicorn herd, if you will. But before we get to the nuance of what does it take to kind of jump from one to the other, maybe a journey to a unicorn. Let's start there. Mantas, maybe starting with you. I mean, you said it yourself, 12 years in the making. We all like to read, the TechCrunch articles about overnight success, all up and to the right, unicorn, decacorn. The reality is a little bit different, right? Could you talk a little bit about the reality of that journey, and potentially also some pivots, iterations along the way that almost necessarily are part of the definition of how to get to greatness?
Yeah. Wow, I'm not sure I want to share everything, because then people won't do startups, because it's really bloody difficult. So what I think generally, so what surprised me actually is how relatively easy it is to get from unicorn like billion-dollar company to 2 or 3 billion. You just basically scale roughly the same playbook. But to get to 1 billion, really difficult. And why is that? Because basically, if you are raising at $1 billion, you have to have very strong proof point that you are $10 billion company, right? You are
have the
investor, you know,
potential,
exactly,
yeah.
like real potential, not something, you know, imaginary, like
Hypothetical.
super real, right? So it means that to get there, to that first billion, you have to become big category, almost a leader, like someone who is very likely to become dominant in that category, right? So which basically means you have to outperform 90% of competition globally, right? Which is incredibly difficult because especially here and especially when we started like 10 years ago, like you don't have all those talents, you don't have all this know-how, and you compete with everyone in the world, right? Like Silicon Valley companies, London companies, and it's like you have to outperform them somehow to get there. So, but so yeah, so this is really something you have to think. Like if you wanna get there, you think, okay, what's my category? And it's like it has to be very clear path to not only becoming first leader, but becoming a very defendable leader, right? You have to be having defendable model that if someone starts to copy you, like they will really struggle. Like you have to have like core defensibility embedded in your model, and it's not necessarily always the product itself. It has to be big of that, right? But it's also the way you operate. I think it's one of the most underappreciated elements and underlooked by many investors as well. Like, because to copy end output on the surface can be quite easy, right? I mean, I can launch a website mimicking your VPN for your pricing, right? But good luck achieving same unit economics as these guys have. Like, good luck. Because then you have to build organization who is able to output that at something that it's incredible value to the user, and it's incredibly difficult for someone else to build, right? And it takes, this is what takes years. That's why I don't believe in overnight success, except some crypto stories, right?
That is true. The other thing that I think can take years as well is the iterating of the model, right? To the point where you can actually scale it. Yanis, maybe quickly, like your experience, did you start where you are at the moment with the business model, or did you have to go through like a couple of tweaks and tunes? Because that's the part that oftentimes gets overlooked as well. Like a great company is a great company because it's a great company. Like that's not true. Like it was something very different oftentimes when it got going. And through sweat and pain and blood, it found its way, to something that actually worked.
The answer is, well, we did a pivot. We did one significant pivot and multiple adjustments in our journey. The biggest one was that we, at some point in 2007, switched from an app, a service provider, to a marketplace business model. So on one side we have industrial manufacturers, and on the other side we have tens of thousands of e-commerce stores who are our B2B customers. And the one input or feedback I would share with anyone who is building your own startup or a part of startup, first of all, a lot of respect from me for you, because it's incredibly challenging and hard work every day, every single day. Secondly is that when you look at retrospect, it's a straight line and it looks like straight hill up. For example, if you look at Mantas' success story, it looks like, oh my God, he started 10 years ago and overnight he is multi-billion-dollar company, 10 years, but it seems like straight line up. And the reality is that I think it's a S-curve. After an S-curve, you start with one concept, with one idea, with one acquisition channel, and it accelerates your growth, but it will pretty soon saturate, and you have to find the next opportunity, the next acquisition channel, the next adjacent business model, whatever that is. So when you look from outside, in retrospect, it seems like straight line up. When you are building your company every day, it's an S curve after S curve, and it takes very hard work to find all those opportunities so that eventually you end up into building large successful company.
Tom, how many things did you try before you hit on NordVPN, like the product and the business that ended up becoming, now worth 1.6 billion first time you raised capital?
Yeah, we've been doing multiple things. We've counted, it was like 30 products or projects that we've started.
30, 30,
Yeah.
just for the record, okay? So 30 projects of which one becomes this big.
But we don't call them failures or unsuccessful because you fail when you stop. And now in startup life, we have a magic word called pivot. So we pivoted.
30 pivots and off you go.
Yeah, well, it was fun. Yeah, we learned a lot of and gained lots of experience. So that was cool.
James?
I think that's one thing I would add. I think the way you said it is perfect. You fail when you stop. I also had multiple startups that didn't succeed before Printify, and you learn from every one of them. And as long as you keep on working and apply your learnings, you will become a stronger, better leader.
Yeah, I want to add one thing which really helped us, and it's advice for all of you guys as well, like the attitude towards that process. Because like even today we do tons of failures, but we never identify them as a failures. We always ask ourselves, what are the new fundamental truths we learned out of this? And what does that tell us, right? So for example, recently we became, as Vinted, really successful in the UK. This was the 6th attempt to enter this market. 6th over 8 years. So this is how relentless you have to be, but also methodological about, okay, this is the things I learned, okay, let's keep that knowledge. Because for us, there is no drama about like, oh my God, we burned 2 million, what a failure, what a losers we are. No, we are like, okay, we invested 2 million in something that didn't work. Why it didn't work? Like, what exactly did we learn here and here and here, and how we can apply this knowledge, and like, and actually, it's not only like just nice words, but we actually, in many of those cases, these were great investments. It didn't pay out on that case, but it paid out as an amazing knowledge we've been able to apply on the whole portfolio, on how we operate. And then we saved 10 or even more times because we haven't, repeated the same mistake, and we learn a lot from this, right? So it's like this attitude is such a big driver, and which we try to also to scale as much as we could to every person, like that, how you should look at this, right? So like post-mortems in our organization are one of the most popular things to write and read, because we, and if I see that the failure rate is decreasing, to me is the most alarming thing at the organization to see, because it means we're not taking enough risks and not innovating enough. Right. We're trying to then play too much safe play, which is the most risky thing to do at a business, is start to play safe.
Makes sense. One of the most exciting parts, I think, of successful companies emerging in a given geography is that it tends to create ecosystems. Successful companies, early joiners, founders start investing in other startups, pass on the knowledge, create role models, and this is the part that 10, 15 years ago didn't really exist, in the Baltics. Now, do all of you make at least some angel investing? Yeah, I think most of you. So that's like, case in point. What would you say, like that journey 0 to 1, and then we'll talk, 1 billion to 10, like 0 to 1, like, first of all, is it even an aspiration? Should it be an aspiration, you think, for a lot of the entrepreneurs to try and get to that kind of unicorn status? But either way, when folks don't get there, what would be like 1 or 2 things that you would highlight maybe from your angel investing experience, from observing, the market? Where do people stumble? Where do they stop? Why don't they get there? Not why they fail, but just naturally, like laws of gravity, where do they kick in? Why do they not kind of get there? At least one or two thoughts, insights would be interesting to hear from you.
Yeah. I just, one quick note here. I think if you focus on, it's a very big problem if you just focus on becoming a unicorn, because this is kind of the outcome of a great work, right? I think the key is to find product market fit as quickly as possible. And how you innovate, how you fail fast, whether that it's there or not there, that's the key. And also the team. I mean, if it's so funny, right? It's just some numbers, or like I can, also some secret to say. Rytis is also, a shareholder at North Security. Is from the early days we've been
Look
together.
at my hoodie, yeah.
Mantas, with Mantas, we're angel investing together to probably most of the Lithuanian startups that are out there. And with Andres here from Change Ventures and with others, everything is very connected. And and when you do in the very early stage investments, we invest into ecosystem, but we don't the product market fit is not there, but you invest into team, and then the team can fail fast. And but to search for that product market fit quickly, that's the key how we can do it. And if you get stuck over too long, that's it. You're gonna lose your momentum, dynamics. And Rytis, this better, light from Lightspeed and Primary, where it's gone, right? And then you have to just restart everything. So I think that's the key. Find the product market fit as quickly as possible. If you don't, just move on and try to
Try
do
something else. Yeah, it's good advice. James.
In the early days when I started, people talked about product market fit, and it was still a bit fuzzy, like what exactly is. And to put it even in more simple words, just be super obsessed about your customer. Figure out what is a problem in the market, and that's a recommendation I give to all the founders. Find something that is really a pain to the customer today. They might not know it's a pain for them itself, but find something that you can really solve, because if you find a problem, that's an opportunity that you can solve. And if you can find a really innovative solution, how you solve that problem, that is really how you can start a business. And I think it's a guaranteed failure if you just think about that dollar target that you want to achieve. Figure out the customer, and then think about how can you really multiply those customers in the number of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, and there you will have a really large successful business.
Yeah, maybe to add a couple of things. So I totally agree with what you said, but what I look at personally is first of all, the core motivation. Why? So you look at founders, because this is 90% on what you're betting. The business model will almost definitely change over time. So you can go deep into it, but it will evolve in one way or another. The only thing that won't change is the team you are betting on, the founder you are betting on, because if something happens with the founder, basically it's a write-off. So I look at the core motivation of why these guys wants to do that and how determined they are. Because, in all these events, and you can get kind of delusional in a way that everyone is so successful. But the reality is, I don't know why, guys are not inviting 100 failed startups, because the ratio of failed and successful is really boring. There are way more failed things than successful. And so it's gonna be most likely extremely painful. And if your core motivation is weak, not clear, you're doing this because it's cool, you think you will get rich fast, those guys will give up fairly quickly. And this is not something you want to bet on. You want to bet on somebody who doesn't care about valuation, doesn't care about many things. He really cares about solving this because he's on his life mission to do that. Really, truly in his core. He can live without salary and food and still would choose to do that. You want to bet on those people, because from all of my portfolio, almost all companies were having at least one near-death experience where it looked hopeless. Like, that's it, right? Like, no new capital, nothing. And they all except one still in my portfolio not only survived but did amazing turnarounds, and that was because the founder was not giving up. Like, he believed fundamentally there must be a solution, there must be other way to solve this, and so dedicated. In many cases, those founders were like running 3-4 months without even taking salaries because there is no money in the company, and still doing that, and the rest of the money just paying to the employees and like stuff like that, right? You want to bet on those people.
I completely agree, and I'll put in a shameless plug. Tomorrow I'll post a Medium article on exactly this, actually, the patterns and the shapes of European founders and what to look for. In Silicon Valley, it's easier. You know, graduated from Stanford, yes, no. Worked at Google, yes, no. Still under 30, yes, no. If all like, yes, yes, okay, you're funded. You know, it's a little trickier in Europe, and I think that's actually very much the beauty of our ecosystem, and the bets are on those, I think, you know, the most successful ones is on those like deeply passionate founders that care intrinsically about solving problems, and everything else is kind of, you know, almost a side effect. So 0 to 1, maybe we can quickly touch on 1 to 10. You know, the graduation rate, you know, 1 billion to 10, and I appreciate, you know, we're, you know, very much an aspirational number, but it's kind of the point of this conversation, I think. We used to talk about unicorns as something that, you know, they don't exist in reality, right? Like in the startup line, they do. And it kind of feels like, okay, now that's become a little bit more of, you know, it's at least possible. So let's dream a little bigger. Let's dream 10 times that, right? And yet only, you know, mathematically, 400 unicorns, you know, 25, you know, decacorns in Europe, 26, very low graduation rate. Any thoughts, theories, why you think, you know, that might be the case, or is this going to change? And, you know, in 10 years' time, we'll be looking back and saying, now we have 400 decacorns in Europe. How about we get to centicorn status, and we mint some even in the Baltics? Looks very crazy today, but who knows? Maybe in 10 years' time, this is going to be the discussion.
So look, as I said, like if you get, you know, from, you know, tier 1, tier 2 VCs funding at 1 billion, somewhere there is already a plan how to reach 10. Right, for each of those companies. So it's like, it's if it's, you know, from 0 to 1, it's very much like exploration, survival, like really like deep R&D play. From 1 to 10 is like really like tight execution play, right? On that mostly same framework, or like at least the core is more or less the same. So it's a different place. So my belief is that many of those unicorns will become decacorns over like 5+ years. Many, like not 1 out of 10, but maybe, you know, 4 or 5 or 6 out of 10. That ratio. But also, you know, it's like getting like close to that or even beyond that becomes difficult. Because, you know, then it means you tapped into something really big, and then it becomes like a play against big tech companies, like,
good point, yeah,
which are valued at hundreds of billions, right? And then you tap into their territory, and they start kind of attacking you because they see, oh, nice, what they are doing is actually can be worth a couple of hundred billion.
Talking about Google, Amazon, Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. So, for example, we went into territory. Well, now the biggest competitor is Facebook for us, right? And it's like damn difficult to compete with them, especially if they put some focus on that, right? So it's again very different play. So then I believe many of those companies will be either acquired by those big guys, or they somehow reach breakout and then will go further to maybe, you know, 50 or 100 billion. But that's damn difficult because then it's like kind of a bit unfair how well positioned those big tech companies are, and that's I understand why regulators are coming after them,
right?
Because it's kind of shit, like they have access to capital and this and that, and like they can really throw bazooka on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, to be honest, we don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's gonna be a big challenge for us. I think one of the biggest things that you know, at least I'm gonna focus is, you know, building to 1 billion. You still can do it in kind of a startup fashion, focused way. But going to 10 billion, you need to. I don't want to call it professionalize it, but you know, have some different dynamics processes in place just to, you know, execute better. But that also comes with some boring corporate stuff and how to, you know, keep the startup vibe and community and the culture with, you know, people coming from enterprise software, other folks, and you're trying to, you know, help you build you up to potential, you know, IPO or the next game. That's a big challenge, and I think this is going to be a big focus. And then I think it's also, you know, about what kind of a strategy you take. If you want to do a, you know, a very profitable business, you know, more kind of a private equity safe play, you know, with returns or a growth story, which is way different.
Yeah.
So, but it's definitely a huge jump, and at least for us, we'll need to even, you know, focus more. We're a very consumer company, but we're looking more and more into enterprise, which is a different beast. I mean, now enterprise and consumer is so different.
Yeah.
You know, I'm lucky, you know, that over the period of my time, I've been able to touch some enterprise companies and, you know, build them over the years, so I know how the drill works. But if you think, I'm not sure, guys, you can tell me even better, Rytis, but what's kind of only or a couple companies that the big tech that are doing both consumer and enterprise, right? It's Microsoft.
Yeah. Very few.
Google tries to do
Apple
it.
Well,
yeah,
Facebook
mostly
with like
consumer.
workplace. Yeah, but
Still, workplace didn't work out that well, right? So it's a different dynamics, and it's a big challenge. So we'll see, but it's interesting, you know. Didn't happen overnight. Don't expect 10 billion to happen overnight. So we're gonna keep pushing in for the next 10 years.
Great. Well, we only have a couple of minutes left. Maybe James, we'll put you on the spot now. Name the next unicorn and the next decacorn that will come out of the Baltics in your mind.
But
your
why-
own company cannot be in either of those
But-
two.
but do
However,
that-
strongly you're convinced.
But do that
Alright.
quietly to Rytis.
Alright.
Lightspeed.
I'm writing it down. Yeah.
On the decacorns, I'm betting on these two guys, and on the next unicorn, I will bet on the. I think the most recent investment of me and Mantas, which is Ironis from Latvia.
Ironis.
I think what these guys are doing is really innovative. It's a service company for the windmill energy industry. It's going to be massive industry in the future. It's already huge, and it will only grow multiple times. And these guys have really innovated this solution. So today it is done with people in ropes, and those turbines go up to 300 meters high.
Wow.
And as he stated the problem, you put a job application out and you get exactly 0 applicants who want to do that kind of job. And that goes back to example, if you can find the real problem in the market, this is a real problem.
Nice.
It's just ancient solution. And now they have some really innovative robotic solution how to disrupt this market. So betting
Super.
on betting on these guys.
Okay, 1 minute left. Tom, what's your bet? Next
Yeah.
unicorn? Next decacorn?
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm, you know, pretty hard to talk about Estonia. They have a different, you know, path there, and, you know, they're doing an amazing job. But in Lithuania, I think we have a couple cooking, and it's hard to say what's going to be the, you know, the first or the next one. I don't think this should be a race either way, because, you know, you can, you know, they're just, you have to focus on the business and on the growth and how it goes. But we have, you know, KiloHealth, we have Interactio, we have, you know, Hostinger, which is our on data that's growing. So we have multiple ones in the pipeline, I think, and then it's just gonna, you know, gonna keep coming. I think we just now the fly will start spinning.
So I'll make it easy for you, Mantas. What's the next decacorn? Just one name.
From V.
Nord Security.
Nord Security.
Yeah.
You guys are being very PC today, but I think we're at time. So just before we wrap up, Vinted is hiring, right? NordVPN is hiring. Yeah,
Always.
Printify hiring. Okay, so everybody apply. Tell your friends. These are the best companies, and thank you guys so much.